Hi there, I'm Diana-Liz, and I'm a brain health coach. And I am with my dear friend and fellow colleague, Pam Miles, who is also a Dr. Amen brain health coach. And every Tuesday, we get together and we coach each other so that we get support and fellowship on our journey to health. So today we're going to talk. Last time we talked about Pam's struggle with insulin resistance, which is very, very different from mine. And so I'm going to share my struggles with insulin resistance. Okay, so my story uh, starts probably before I was born. My father didn't want children, and my mother got pregnant on the honeymoon, and I was born 9 months after the wedding. And it was a very, very difficult pregnancy for my mother. And there were a lot of family issues that were never resolved. We had alcoholic grandparents on each side of the family. And my mother became more rigid, and I couldn't attach. Babies need to attach to their mothers, and I attached to my father, and then there was a fallout, and I was no longer allowed to attach to my father. I couldn't talk to my father ever again for as long as I lived. I could be in his presence, but if I needed something, I had to ask my mother, who would ask my father, who would get back to me at some point. And so I was emotionally emancipated, or probably by the time I was 5 years old. I felt like I was on my own, and I was the only person who could make myself feel safe. There was no adult that I could turn to in confidence for warmth or for empathy or compassion or for understanding. I couldn't turn to my grandparents because there was dysfunction with a bipolar grandfather and a rageaholic, alcoholic grandmother on the other side. And I was sent to my grandparents' homes. I would be 1 week one grandparent, another week with another grandparent, and there was no safe place. And so learning became very important for me, and it's one of the reasons why I know so much about stuff. And you say, well, God, you know so much about the brain. You know so much because it's a matter of life and death for me. And if I don't know something, I have to look it up. I don't trust the doctors. Whatever the doctor tells me, I come home and I spend hours on PubMed doing my research. And so that ability to not be able to attach was very, very difficult for me. And gosh, if I hadn't danced, I don't know what would have happened to me, because that was the only place. I didn't have any social skills. I didn't have the ability to have empathy. I had no one to learn it from. And I didn't know how to be compassionate. And it took a lot of work, a lot of years of counseling, a lot of years of meditation and reading and searching. And my ex-husband, I'm eternally grateful. He was my key to getting into 12 steps. And I've done 12 years of 12-step work, and the friendships that I developed there. And from there, I went through the Pathways program and the Landmark program. It gave me a life. But I have what they call developmental trauma disorder. And there's a spot in your brain right above your right ear, and it's called T4 for temporal 4. And that area has been found to be the PTSD. And when you look at children who have not been able to form attachments to a person, it doesn't necessarily have to be the mother, but to a person, when they don't have that, they have the same brain patterns, if you do an EEG, that a soldier coming back from Afghanistan who has PTSD, the brains look the same.
Wow.
And I mean, no one ever hit me. No one, I was a witness to a lot of emotional abuse, and I experienced neglect. I had clothes, I had food, but there was an emotional neglect that I experienced. And how that shows up today is in having, it's a kind of a weird anxiety. It doesn't really feel like anxiety, but it's like my body can't totally, completely rest. And any little thing can set it off. If I am not able to provide emotional comfort for someone, I had an incident a couple of months ago, and it triggered my PTSD. And I had a client who was embarrassed because it's this very sensitive thing to come into the clinic and have electrodes put on your head, and you don't want people to know about that. And his privacy was violated, and I was not able to shield him and protect him, and my heart was just pounding out of my chest. And I came home, and I started just walking, and I have a Native American drum, and I just did the heart rhythm to try get my heart rhythm to synchronize with the American drum. And I must have done it for an hour and a half or 2 hours before I could get myself to calm down. And so on a daily basis, it's the underground percolation that drives my glucose. And I looked at my sugar this morning. It was 110. Now that's not horrible, but anyone who had ate what I ate for dinner would have had 85. It's I had a piece of salmon and broccoli and a little tiny piece of sweet potato with no sugar, just butter. And so what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and I've been looking at some research by his name is Vanderkolk, Kolk, and it's about training the T4. And I am I have access to the equipment, and I've been looking at the research, and I have a mentor that I can turn to and to help me. And one of the things that really used to help was intervals. And I can't exercise. When I get on the elliptical, I can push. It just, the way it's structured, it's just natural. I can't, my heart rate when I'm at home walking, my heart rate never gets very, high enough to because when you have anxiety and you run, your body feels like you ran away from the stressor, like lion, tigers, and bears. And there's a certain kind of cathartic release. I can't get that from just walking, and my knees and feet won't allow me to do it. So I'm praying that I can get back to a gym.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I forgot to mention on mine too. Same scenario with exercise.
Yeah.
So how is your cortisol level?
I can taste my cortisol in the morning. And it was, it hasn't been too bad the last couple of days. It's kind of like, Is it there or is it not there? So that's good. But when I get up in the morning and I have, it's kind of like gasoline, what I imagine some kind of, there's just something that's not a sweet breath. It's kind of like acidy kind of taste in the mouth. Then I know I've had a lot. And I can go to sleep at the drop of a hat. I mean, my Fitbit that I wear, there's not even a little red line when I hit the bed. But I do wake up somewhere in the middle of the night, and then I have to practice my diaphragmatic breathing. I did that last night, and I can only do that on my tummy. So I just, because of some of the trauma that I experienced as a child, being just being turned over is safer for me.
Mhm.
And so that's, you have any other questions?
Well, I was just curious about that because of the stress, and the
Yeah.
because it'll raise it and elevate it, and then the whole loop gets started here with that.
Yeah. And the debate that we witnessed for the election here in the US really triggered me. And global warming and what it's just such an enormous problem that affects every aspect of our life, and how and I've been thinking of a way in which I can do how I can use my mindfulness that I do on a weekly basis to be a part of the solution. So,
well, for me, my faith keeps me strong and holds me.
Through God, all things are possible.
Amen.
Amen. Yeah. So, and we're blessed. We're blessed with with our nervous system that has two parts, and with skill we can learn to move back and forth. And I know that even though my glucose is still high, that my meditation and prayer in the evenings does help, because when I look at my Fitbit, I can see when I'm meditating, my heart rate slows down. And I know that that's one little step I can do to help my cortisol come down, because they're on a seesaw together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't give up. If you're a skinny diabetic like me, I'm on my BMI is 19. If you don't know what your BMI is, just send us a message and we'll tell you how you can get that information, because you need to know your numbers as part of your health.
Yeah, body composition is very important.
Yeah.
Knowing your ratios, everything, and that's something good we can talk about next time. About
and don't assume that that your glucose is good just because you're thin. You need a measure.
Amen.
So thanks for listening.